Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Deciphering My Experience. My name is Eric, and we are joined today with Kevin. Kevin has been following along and listening to the show and has written to me by email. We've been discussing some things back and forth. Kevin is a fantastic artist who has been putting together some cool visions of things as of late from I guess, the people that he's been following and listening to have been inspirational. Welcome to the show, Kevin.
Oh, glad to be here, Eric. Thank you for having me.
No problem. Is that accurate with the pictures as of late?
Yeah, no, that's a good way to sort of segue into this. Uh,
Okay.
yeah, if you want to talk about how we even just first
Yeah,
connected, that's
that
probably
that
the
would
best.
be, I guess, a great place for us to start with everybody is if you could just, I guess, paint a picture for everyone as an artist. Paint a picture for everybody of that moment. You
Sure.
prior to writing an email to me, you had said that you were listening to a show
Yep.
with Tony and I, and it had given you some sort of an inspiration. So if you could start there, would be great.
Yeah. Well, initially I was watching you on Leap Project, and just some of the stuff that you two were talking about. You know, it just struck me that there was more to it than what met the eye, and it sort of prompted me to initially contact you, and that sort of led to one thing. And while I was waiting to get in touch with you more, I was watching, as you say, your interview with Rodriguez and Penny. And while I was watching it, I was doing a little thumbnail sketch of this idea I had of how can I depict, sort of a multi-layered, dimensional uh, reality, but in a way that's accessible. So I approached it more like in a comic book format, and I can show you the picture here in a minute. But so as I was listening to you talk, you were starting to talk about you were talking about the how to depict or the this multi-dimensional sort of universe. And I was just finishing this little thumbnail sketch as you guys were talking about it, and it was one of those synchronicities that really caught my attention. And during this whole process in especially these last several years, I'm paying more attention to those synchronicities. And so that's why I reached out to you, because it was just like, wow. I mean, it was just too surreal. It was like, you know, like you're talking directly to me. It just felt so bizarre.
I remember that email. It was very interesting. And I am a big fan of these synchronicities and connections being made. It's profound when you, I guess, feel it happening.
Yep.
It's more than just seeing it or being there. And people will discount things like that, but there's an emotion to it that you
Mhm.
feel. And I mean, I remember your email because you had said something to the effect of what you had just stated, and you had made some inquiry, like, you had said, like, it was almost like you were asking me to draw the picture, and you,
Yep.
like, you did like a dot dot dot, like, were you? And I
Well,
and I remember reading that and dying because it was funny to me. And I was like, I don't think that I could say that I consciously was at all, right? But I can't lie because constantly in my mind's eye, I keep thinking to myself, boy, I wish I knew an artist that could figure out a way to put to paper these things that I could see in my head. So
yeah.
I can't discount that I have that wherewithal on my end and you have your
Mhm.
experience on your end. So, I mean, here we are,
Well, yeah. I
sharing
mean,
our experiences and deciphering things and trying to figure out, like, why on that day were you so intrigued to contact me? Why on that day was what I said so intriguing for you to contact me? But these things are what's going on.
that's
The,
right.
the words that we use and the words that we choose sometimes may seem random.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm learning more and more, is that just our words are resonant packages. They're packages of potential energy.
Mhm.
And the more we understand that our whole universe is really just a manifestation of this of these patterns, of these energetic fields.
Mhm.
And so in this little drawing, it's like, well, how can you try to portray that in a way that's accessible. And I don't know if you want me to, I could.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'm waiting for you to throw the picture up. It's a wonderful picture.
Okay, I don't know. Like from my end, I just see myself as a tiny little box. I don't know.
No worries. It looks dandy as you're getting close.
I don't know if you can you enlarge.
I don't have the ability to manipulate.
Oh, you don't. Okay.
But the way that you are zooming, if you get it in close and then just stay still.
Yeah.
If
okay.
yeah, so they can see the detail when you stay still, and they can see obviously how much effort that you've put into this.
Okay, so I mean it's a small, and this is still just sort of a rough draft of what I would really like to do, but I'll try to run through things quickly. Like on the bottom layer is sort of the masses who are still in a very in a dream slumber, that they've been really just completely conditioned by the programming. You know, they're wearing their masks, saying sleep, obey, and whatnot. And above them are these skeletal beings, the puppet masters, who are controlling them. And so there's one sun that they, you know. So there's 5 suns that I have depicted on here. Basically five densities. And so just above them are those who are waking up and saying, hey, you know, something's not quite right here, folks. You know, pay attention, wake up. And above that, you've got, and this may be controversial to some people, but the above layer are those beings that have throughout time stepped up to the plate on more of a global scale. The world leaders, the world, you know, those who have made that decision, and through their lives have got to that point.
So then, like a good, bad, or ugly, like they're not followers, right? So you put them on a leader level, but that doesn't mean good leader, right? It just means they're not in the herd.
Well, I mean, for my depiction, I'm focusing on those that are for the betterment and the progression.
Okay, you got it. Thank you for the clarification.
Yeah. So those are the ones that are involved in the betterment, that are on the ascending cycle.
Okay.
And so in the center, and people may have problems with this, but it is a depiction of the Orange Man. I won't say a name because I don't know, YouTube can be pretty strange.
Everybody's entitled to their belief systems, Kevin, including you.
Exactly. Yeah. So, but at the end of every age, and I believe we are at the end of a particular age, that there are people who rise up. We may not like them. There may be things that we think are really crappy about them, but at some points, you know, you can't come in and do away with a cabal that's been in place for thousands of years by being Mr. Nice.
I can follow that 100%.
Yeah. So let's see. I'm having problems seeing where I'm at here. So above that level, just underneath, you know, and you've got some pretty cliche angelic type of beings, you know. And again, this is a comic book format.
You have a really good hand, by the way.
Oh, thank you. So I'm trying to convey some pretty big concepts in a simple way. So I don't know if you can see, but just above them, I've got a few UFOs and stuff buzzing around. You know, just little, you know. But then there are beings that are above that don't need vehicles in the sense that we would normally think of, you know, someone getting around.
Yep.
So there is this more etheric level. And these are all represented by different suns. So there's a sun there, sun there, sun there, another sun there. And these angelic beings are holding a sword, you know, basically symbolizing the discerning, you know, the ability to discern, to cut through the bullshit, basically.
I am amazed that you are calling this like rudimentary and like yucky and stuff like that. I love that you are going to make this even better.
Yeah, well, it's just,
I'm impressed by it already.
Thanks. So yeah, I mean, so it represents these 5 different, you know, at least from my perspective, this is how I'm perceiving it.
10-4.
And so, you know, again, I'm trying to translate kind of what's kicking around in my head
Mhm.
in a visual format.
Absolutely. I think you're
So,
doing an excellent job of it.
thanks.
Now,
So,
go ahead.
yeah, no, sorry, you gotta.
I was wondering, so now there was a moment where this synchronicity occurred with the picture, but now
Mhm.
obviously you have thoughts on these topics since well before you were listening to myself or Tony or Penny,
Oh yeah, here, I'll put this down for now.
right? Because we've never really gotten into that stuff, and,
No.
and I'm intrigued by that. One of the things that I always talk about on deciphering my experience is that I believe that in our life experiences, 80% of my life is very similar to 80% of your life, but your 20% and my 20% are probably so wildly different from each other, but your
Mhm.
20% has value as well. So
Yep.
I imagine that your 20% has probably been a very interesting path that brought you to listening to shows like mine and Penny's and Tony's. And now here you are drawing these pictures and talking to folks like me.
Yep.
So what is it about your 20% and your experience that makes you think of things like this and five sun dimensional differences?
Well, I mean, in a nutshell, I've always been, very fascinated with things. As a kid, again, as a
Mhm,
kid, I had these thoughts going through my head. To me, a lot of these thoughts were just like normal for me.
mhm.
As a little kid going to sleep, I would sit there and just think, thinking about the universe and going, well, how can it be endless? Yes. So I imagine, oh, maybe there's a brick wall. But then I start thinking, well, then that brick wall has to go on forever and ever and ever. And it's those kind of thoughts at a very, very early age that just get, I was open to a lot of ideas, and luckily I came from a family where that wasn't discouraged. I'm the youngest of 7 kids,
Mhm.
and being the youngest, you get a lot of different influences. A
Mhm.
lot of teasing too, but that's all good.
Huh? Gives you thick skin
Yeah, well, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
and fast hands at the dinner table.
Yeah, if you didn't act fast and get that good piece of steak, you're going to wind up with a piece of liver.
Right.
Mom would always try to do that.
Mhm,
Bless her soul. But
mhm. So now in the concept of the five suns dimension,
yeah.
does that is it based in more thoughts or was it just a an idea that popped in your head?
Uh, no, it's sort of a culmination of life experiences and my own personal through dreams and stuff. Certain experiences I've had as a kid. Again, some of the most profound I think experiences were as a little kid,
Mhm,
and I've been finding, especially in these last couple of years,
mhm.
so many things that are happening now. It jars something from my very early years. And
Interesting.
again, it's these synchronicities that suddenly it's like, holy crap, you know, something that happened when I was a little tiny kid. Suddenly it's like I see it in a completely different light, or something that never made sense to me.
Yes, that happens to me quite regularly, and I find it as a very profound experience actually. And I can imagine people might see it as not that big of a deal. But
Hmm.
again, when you're feeling it, to me, it matters a lot.
Yeah.
So when I hear what you just said, right? I know that I'm just going to use my words. It's there are times where I would say that something could happen to me today, okay? And I would have an instant connection to, like you said, at a time where I might be like, I might have been 4 years old
Hmm.
and had a thought rolling around in my head. And I might have only just now, at 45 years old, answered that question. And I will instantaneously make a connection. But it's like as if I'm in the 4-year-old mind
Yes.
and I'm going, ah, I knew I'd figure that out someday.
Yep.
Like this is that moment that I've always been waiting for. But it's as
Exactly.
if I revert because now it's like the I've always been waiting for part. The I in that is the younger me.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's a great moment because it's like a victory. You're like, "Ah, I knew I would figure that out."
Yeah. I
The
I agree
weirdest thing.
100%. Yeah, that's exactly how it feels. And And to elaborate a little bit more about, what has brought me to this idea of 5 densities, or, because I know there's more beyond that. That's all what I'm depicting here. But one experience that was really always stuck with me as a little kid, playing hide and go seek in my grandmother's basement, hiding under a bed. I was probably only 3 or 4 years old at the time. And I remember going under the bed, and then it was an out-of-body experience that suddenly I felt like I was way above the earth, and I was looking at the other planets. All the planets seemed much, much closer. Everything seemed much, much closer. Mm-hmm. And what was really strange is that there was beings that it looked like their feet were going down to the planets, going down to whatever bodies they were, but their bodies stretched way up into space. So there's this really strange sort of, that's sort of what I'm trying to
picture it as you're saying it completely.
Yeah, and it's experiences like that which has always stuck with me. It probably wasn't all that long afterwards that reading books, because being the youngest of 7 kids, I was introduced to things which a lot of people wouldn't have been.
Right.
Reading books that dealt with ideas of astral travel and a lot of strange esoteric type of ideas. Mm-hmm. And because I'd already had enough of my own experiences that it made sense to me.
What area of the world were you growing up for your formative years?
Same place, Edmonton.
Okay.
Yep.
10-4.
Yep. Actually, in the same house I am right now. I took over the family home. Long story, but
there you go.
Some world travels and stuff in between, and did a fair bit of traveling just out of high school. Got a lot of I guess worldly experience of how things really go on in the world.
I recommend that to everybody. Travel.
Yep. No.
There's a lot of things in the world that you can waste money on. Mm-hmm. You cannot waste money on traveling.
No.
It's never wasted.
Yeah. Well, I was lucky enough to be to go into a program called Canada World Youth.
Cool.
And I spent like 4 months on a little dairy farm in Quebec. Spent another 4 months in Togo, Africa. And I mean, it was a real eye-opening experience. Mm-hmm. Long story short, our group leader, our African group leader in Canada, was a great guy. Seemed like a terrific guy. When we got to there, we were in. We realized then we were at his compound. It was set up by some sort of I think a Belgian project that helped them get set up so that cooperative. In the end, it showed me that, wow, Togo was a dictatorship, and he was like a little petty dictator, because we realized that he was using us for his own end. And so in one sense, it was a very, disappointing experience, but it really showed me that, wow, this guy's got an opportunity to really help his own community. Mm-hmm. And yet he's using us just to, make him a garden, a chicken coop, a pen for his goats, whitewash his buildings and stuff. The final straw was our Canadian group leader. She found out that he was taking the money from our group, and he was supposedly paying for the water for this guy to fill up our water tank. Fair enough. And then we find out that no, this guy was just doing it out of the goodness of his heart. And unfortunately, it really split the group up, because the Togolese, they realized that, if I rock the boat, I got to live here.
Yep. Politics.
Yeah. So when you're young, 20 years old, or not even, I think I was 18 at the time. Yeah. It's an eye opener to see how that type of politics works firsthand.
Yes. Yep. When I was 18, I got into the submarine service, and I learned a lot about global politics in a crash course.
No, that's the best way, actual personal experience about things.
I remember the first time I went home for a weekend liberty from the submarine base. And I remember just getting off the train and just looking around my neighborhood. And it was like, I was just like, nobody knows. Nobody knows what's really going on in the world, no matter where I look. It was an elevated train station. That was the thought that I had in my head. I just remember looking out
Yeah.
and over the land and like, nobody here knows what's really going on in the world. And that was 1994.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I had the same sort of experience when I got back
Mhm,
because a lot had changed in me.
mhm,
And then you get back home and it's just like, oh, nothing has changed.
mhm.
Everyone is exactly the same. Nothing is, and yeah, it's just all those types of experience that build and build and build. And I've had many strange dreams through my life, and I think that's what we sort of thought we would concentrate on is
Oh, you got it. The dreams. I was just thinking that the dreams to me are amazing that more and more people are coming out of the woodwork um, with, I would say, odd but similar
mhm,
dream experiences from their youth.
yeah,
Odd just being that, like, contemporarily as adults, we just go, oh, like that's a weird dream. It's odd, right?
yeah,
Um, but the real oddity is that everybody's coming out of the woodwork with the same dreams.
yeah, yeah. No, that's, and yeah, there's one in particular that as I say, I'm one of seven kids in the family, and pretty much all of us have our own versions of this particular dream. We call it a rock dream.
Mhm.
When we were little kids, again, it goes back to be a little kid, and it was always, well, more often than not, when we were really sick, and in the real depths of when you're really sick. My version of the dream was you feel like you're in this blackness, this void. To me, it still seemed like it was a room, that there was some sort of a corner to it, but just this blackness and a pulsating. So if my parents came in the room, and it gives me the willies just thinking about it now, is that they would ask me how I'm doing, what's the matter, but it would sound like, what's the matter, just have just a very strange
Huh.
feeling. But this is just one aspect of it. The next part of it is that I would be having a feeling of both softness and extreme sharpness, pointiness at the same time. And there's this pressure on top of me that
It's
I just,
interesting the words that you chose. So you said that you said sharpness
yeah, sharp, yeah, like very pointy, very,
and
very,
pointy, but when you're saying that, you normally, in my brain, I think of a precise spot, but it's
mm,
like in my way I'm receiving it from you, it's like you're making it out like you're feeling it all over though,
yes, yes.
which is weird. So it's like you're getting
The
poked
complete
everywhere at once constantly.
and complete polarity, where it feels soft yet very, very sharp at the same time. And another aspect of it is that that's why I call it a rock dream, is that I always had the impression that I had to break myself out of this. Like I had to break this rock down into the smallest little pieces imaginable,
Mhm.
and I had a toothpick to do it. This
Hmm.
is this is my each of my brothers and sisters have a slightly different version of it, but very, very similar. Mine was I would just be breaking toothpicks, trying to break up this rock into the most unimaginable, smallest little pieces.
Mhm.
But again, at the same time, I have a feeling that I have to put it all back together again.
Hmm.
You know, so it's this sense of absolute hopelessness, that how can you do this? How is this possible? And all through my life, it's been, I felt that there's something to this dream that is trying to tell me something at a much, much deeper level. And throughout my life, I'm understanding it more and more. You know?
There's a lot going on in that, and the fact that you're saying all of your siblings have a variant of this dream is very intriguing.
Yeah, yeah. Well, all of us, yeah, we have all sorts of dreams that we share. Whether it's UFO dreams, that's another big one for us. So it's not something that I was ever so much told about,
Mhm.
as we all have dreams of it from a very, very early age. Of some of my earliest earliest and strongest dreams were usually happening. You're looking outside and you're seeing planes and stuff flying around, and there's bombs and stuff blowing up. But then there would be all these. I mean, at first it looks like just stars in the sky, but then they start forming formations. They start coming down in huge formations, and when I was younger, there was always usually some sort of a war element involved. Nowadays, it's not so much of a war element anymore. That because I still get these dreams, relatively frequently, where I'm looking up and suddenly it goes from a couple of moving lights to suddenly the whole sky is full of lights. Sometimes I actually see craft down low and get detail on them and stuff. But more often than not, it's just like the stars just suddenly moving around like crazy. And the dreams usually end with just looking at it and going, "Wow, it's actually happening now. It's not a dream this time."
Do you have could you say, or would it be safe to say that you've been having these dreams for your whole life?
Oh yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. And
Yeah.
would you say that from your perspective now, is it something that you've always recalled having these dreams, or is it something that you've only recently um, like come back to a realization of having them?
No, I've always recalled these dreams. As I say, in our family, we were always open to these things, so we would talk
Okay.
about things.
That was what I was going to ask next. So you've always been aware of this. Your siblings have been engaging in conversation about this your whole life.
Yep, yeah.
Okay.
To lesser or greater degree, I think pretty much all of us have
Uh-huh.
elements at least of these dreams. Some
Okay.
stronger than others.
And you, as siblings, communicated this with your parents?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I know, like my mom, because I would tell her, like, when I was a little kid, I had one that was very, very powerful,
Mhm.
and it was again one of those dreams where there's the UFOs flying around, there's all sorts of things going on, but
Mhm.
then there was this giant face in the sky. It was just sort of a nasty looking face, and it was just sort of laughing.
Mhm.
And yeah, that was a very, very powerful thing as a little tiny kid.
How old do you think you were for this event?
Oh, probably not more than, again, say 3 or 4.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
like, and another dream, sort of, or whether it was still part of that one, I also saw, like, and again, it was like projected up to the sky, that I also saw along with this very scary looking face that was just sort of looking down and laughing. It was also, I got a Catholic background, raised Catholic and stuff. So what I saw was like, it was like the wise men on camels,
Mhm.
and it was just like a silhouette on the sky of the wise men on camels. And when I was telling my mom this stuff, she related to me very, very similar types of things that she had seen
Uh-huh.
of images in the sky.
Huh.
Later on, especially in the last several years, when I'm looking into all this stuff and looking up things like Project Bluebeam and stuff like that, is like, holy crap, because this is well before I knew anything of that.
Mhm. Mhm.
And it was like, well, was I, part of me is thinking that I've seen various potential timelines, throughout my years.
Mhm.
This is what I feel more and more. I can't prove it, but this is
Right.
what I feel,
Mhm.
is that I've seen various timelines that are possible,
Mhm.
and so many things have happened that a lot of just very simple, mundane things, dreams, or at least these recollections that I've had of seeing, whether it's a bridge that I saw in a dream before, and then way, way later on, that bridge is made in the city, or an overpass, or buildings and stuff. Various little things that, it's not earth shattering, it's just mundane things. But as it has happened throughout my years, it just seems like it's another little confirmation that, yeah, keep on paying attention.
In the past, um, it sounds to me like that in certain circumstances that you and your siblings would you share dream space in the same evenings?
Uh, I think
Has that
there's been
occurred?
I think there's been a couple of cases of that, but a lot of times it's like, days or whatever pass, and you start talking about your dreams.
Mhm.
But it does seem like, yeah, there was times when maybe we were sharing the same dreams.
I wonder if folks like you and your siblings were to put intention to um meeting, just
To what
express
part?
purpose to meet. If you were
Yeah.
to just simply say, like, because like certainly it's possible that there were times, like, let's just say 3 weeks ago, like, granted you might not remember the dream that well, but maybe two of your siblings do, and maybe three of you were in the same dream one evening.
Mhm.
But because you're not really focusing on why or where or when, you don't really have a lot of info on it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that you can't do it or promote it. So it's
Mhm.
almost like, if I just wonder if, if you, a few of your siblings were like, hey, you know what? On such and such night when we go to bed, let's try to meet at such and such place.
Yeah. No, that is a good suggestion.
You know?
I got a few of the family members that will still be probably open for that.
Yeah, like, why not try it out? Like, just pick
Yeah.
pick a particular night of the week and just call it whatever night, and that's we're on that night when you go to bed, try to get to such and such spot. See
No,
if you can pull it off.
yeah, that would be good exercise. Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
well, there's an awful lot about lucid dreaming, and that's
Yes.
I think when I was young, I was very, very much open to that, and I think that's what a lot of these little snippets, like what
Mhm.
a lot of people call deja vu or whatever, is perhaps that part of our psyche, of our consciousness
Mhm.
that is able to look forward. I mean, having looked into remote viewing and stuff a lot more these days, it seems like, well, yeah, no, I think I've been remote viewing since I was very young
Yep,
without
yep.
ever knowing it,
Yeah.
because it is that sort of non-local ability to access information that defies conventional thinking.
Mhm.
But
That
the more
part
you,
I find so intriguing, actually, the ability to know without knowing why.
mhm,
I feel like I have always been paying attention to this aspect of reality, because way before I even got into anything what folks would call cockamamie, off the wall. I mean, back when I was a rigid thinking Navy man, raised by Germans and stuff like that, I still, in that mindset, I was aware that there were times in my life that someone would ask me a question
mhm,
and I knew the answer. I was 100% right, but I wasn't guessing.
right,
And people would get mad because I would be right, and they, well, how did you know that? I knew it. What do you care if I know that 4 is the result of 2 plus 2? If you asked me what 2 plus 2 is and I give you 4, you should just be happy you got the answer. Was the
yeah,
way I looked at it when I was a kid, because there was a lot of stuff as a child. And I mean, granted, I had the whole Stargate thing and blah, blah, blah.
mm,
But in that process, I think this was part of the filtering that got me snatched into these programs. Was I think I was also remote viewing very well prior to being snatched into the programs and duly trained, um,
mhm,
because there was so many times I was asked, my teachers would get mad and I would get equally mad because they would be like, how did you know that? And I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah. Say no,
"'Cause it's
that's
in
not
my
right.
head,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah,
What am I supposed to say?"
exactly. Yeah. No, we're limitless beings. We've just been conditioned to think that we're puny little things that don't pay attention to that type of synchronicity or
Yep.
or the inner knowing.
They
You
would
know.
tell me that I was wrong because I couldn't prove anything.
Mm,
Well, in math, this was a huge one. Math, they would get really mad at me because I was way advanced and
oh, all right.
I could literally pull the numbers out of thin air,
Yeah, yeah.
and I didn't know why either.
Uh,
I couldn't do any of the functions,
right.
but they would put something in front of me and I could look at the I could look at the problem and I could write down the answer, and they'd be like, "How
Right.
did you do that?" I said, "That's the question and the numbers in my head.
That,
You asked me for the answer and I gave it to you."
that's right. But they want to see everything written out, all everything step by step and said, well, no, I don't need to do that.
I don't need to do any of that. It's boom, it's instantaneous. Give me
Yeah.
another one.
Yeah, well, me and math never really got along all that well, so I find it kind of strange that now I'm looking more and more into math, into the real meaning and significance of numbers.
Oh my God, and the symbolism and all
Oh,
the weird things.
it's amazing. It really is. And
Have you gotten into Tesla's whole 369 thing?
oh yeah, yeah, Marco Rodin's coil and the vortex math and many things like that.
I actually have a really nice Tesla coil, and I brought it up into the studio to try to do some filming with it to show people all the fun things that you can do with a Tesla coil. The problem is the first time I fired it up, it blew out my whole studio. All my speakers locked out and all my mics, everything, it just locked up. I was like, okay, we're going to have to rethink this.
Yeah. Well, that's, I'm sure Tesla went through a few of those things too. Although usually he had it so worked out in his head that.
Oh, I'm no Tesla. I almost squealed like a 12-year-old girl. I was like, what did I just do?
Yeah, that's funny. But yeah, no, it is amazing. And, I know as a kid, to me, math, it just seemed like it was chasing its tail. I always kind of had an idea of zero, that everything has come from zero, whether you go infinitely out or infinitely in. And to me, on a certain level, it was just like, well, it just seems pointless. It's just chasing your tail.
For the most part, I saw the math that we were being presented really useful if you're going to grow up to be an accountant. And I
Yeah.
have no intention of being an accountant.
Yeah.
And beyond that, they're not really making the topic that much more interesting.
No, the only time I was my ears perked up was when it went into geometry. Actual real geometry, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. This
Angles
is
and dangles.
stuff to get behind.
Yeah.
My mind is always much more visual, and for me to just have these extremely abstract ideas that didn't really relate to anything was like, I'm not so interested. But when you actually have a geometry in front of you, then it's a whole different thing. And and again, these last few years, I've been looking into all sorts of things. I'll show another image here. Again, this isn't my own work. I'm just
I'm more mechanically minded, I think, like you, and I enjoyed math when I took a mechanical drawing course.
Sure.
That was math that I enjoyed doing because there was a practical gain for it. Like I'm going to draw a picture. It's going to be precise, so the math has to be good. I'm going to.
So some of my research has led me into understanding geometry in a whole different way, and I'll show this, and just like an equilateral triangle. You think, oh, it's just an equilateral triangle. But no, when you add up all the angles, 360 degrees, you get 180 degrees. Well, okay, that's interesting. But if you put it into context with 432 tuning, Pythagorean tuning, suddenly that geometry equates to 180 hertz. Again, the circle and square, you add up the corners at 360 degrees. Again, 360 hertz. And this all equates to, they also found this factor 9 grid.
Ooh, that's cool.
It breaks everything down into this Pythagorean breakdown of
Nice.
harmonics and so what I found online was just basically this section. And who is it? By Aronyk Rankin. I will give all credit to him and whoever else is involved in his work. But it's just fascinating way that 432 hertz. That's what A should be tuned to. Okay. Because that's the harmonics of the planet. That's the music of the spheres is based on these certain geometries. A440, you don't wind up with any of these geometries that we see over and over again. There's this mathematical precision of your pentagon is represented by 540 hertz, 540. That's C sharp. An octave above that is 1080, a higher C sharp. And again, like 180, 360, it goes up and up in octaves. and it's just fascinating that these geometries all are within this grid. And so suddenly it's like, holy crap, these aren't just random geometrical figures, that they actually correspond to a fundamental aspect of our reality.
Energy matters. I love saying that.
Yeah, no, and so I ended up just taking it to its logical end, is dividing it by 2 down to get all the lower frequencies, and I kept on going into the higher frequencies. I've got to do this in a better format, but it's a work in progress.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, it's getting there. It's a sketch right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that you're turning your gears on this stuff. I love hearing that there's people out there that are thinking outside of the box in these directions. To me, this is the conversations I like having.
Yeah, and again, synchronicities. As I'm watching all these different programs and stuff, one day, and it just happened, I was working on this. I was just starting to write out all the lower frequencies, and I'm watching a show. I'll give a little plug. That's okay.
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Well, this guy's Edge of Wonder.
Oh, I've heard of them. Yep.
Great program. I mean, they bring on so much different views.
Yep.
And one day they were talking about brainwave frequencies, and I think it was Ben who or no, it was Rob. Anyhow, they said, well, here's all the frequencies of the brainwaves for anyone who's interested. I don't think and it was just kind of one of those comments that I don't think anyone's really too. And they wrote out all, they said all the different frequencies. So I wrote them out. Then I looked at this chart, and I realized that, holy crap, the omega frequency of our brainwave matched exactly what they said on it.
Okay.
You can see that. And again, it goes from the omega to delta to theta to alpha to beta to gamma, epsilon, and zeta.
Right above what you just showed me, what you initially just turned that page to show me, there was a number above what you showed me. I believe it said 1.68 something.
Yep.
What's that a reference to?
Again, it's just take that would be a very low A.
Okay.
And that's what all these are, is that you see on the end that it's just showing all the different notes, because it all corresponds to notes.
Okay. So now if so musically, what you are stating is that people were to I guess like reharmonize a band, it would effectively sound and feel better to us?
Well, that's exactly the whole idea of tuning to 432, rather than A being the standard for our musical
It makes me
scale.
wonder if there's anybody out there actually currently producing in that capacity. Is there a band that knows this and is already doing this and showing people the value of functioning in the 432?
Yes. Oh yeah, there is. There's a lot of research going into this. Again, this isn't. I can't take credit for this stuff. I'm merely on my own journey and trying to figure out things myself. And I'm
It makes me wonder, does our electrical equipment prevent us from listening in 432? Is it already like manufactured in a way that even like let's say there's a band that's playing at 432, but now I'm listening over the internet. Can I actually hear that? Or is the equipment negating the ability for me to hear it?
Well, just the way the instruments are tuned.
Okay, so it's up to the instruments.
Yep. And when I say A is 440, that means that basically your concert pianos, which most people tune to, right? That's where our tuning comes from, is that piano, middle A, is resonating at 440 hertz.
Okay.
So if you were to turn it into 432, then every other note is going to correspond to that. Each one has its own particular nodal sequence. So
with that being said, you're saying that if I'm following this correctly, if you were to take the appropriate A chord in a piano and make it 432, so that we're talking now, you're talking a mechanical adjustment. A piano tuner needs to go in there and tune it to 432. It takes work, right?
Yep.
So now, do they have to effectively now retune everything else physically? So now we're talking time and effort.
Yep.
To retune the whole piano.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
That's what 10
and
fourths.
and every other instrument is going to tune in relation to that note now.
I'd
So
like to hear a piano that's tuned correctly in concert.
yeah, it's a little bit lower. I mean, there is a lot of stuff online where people are transposing music or playing music in 432. You know, like I often tune my instruments down to 432, so it makes it a little weird if I play with other people. Oh no, I got to tune it back up to 440.
Why doesn't everybody just go to 432 then? What's the holdup?
Well,
Why are they all dead set at 440?
well, I mean, there's various theories that I've come across. I mean, there's those who say that, you know, it kind of came around during World War II, that it was at that time sort of standardized to a 440 tuning, because up to that, it was still fairly fluid. That some people, a lot of the indigenous cultures, they just naturally, like Tibetan singing bowls, they will be tuned within that 432 range, so that each of the bowls that has a different resonance to it will be within this grid, within this you know.
I'm certainly no musician, but it seems to me, I'm a tradesman, so it seems to me that in the trade and the tools of music, that at a level of high professionalism and skill, that if a bunch of musicians showed up to a room to play together and they just simply said, hey boys, we're going to do this in 432 instead of 440, that it really shouldn't make a lick of difference to them.
No, yeah, in the actual,
right? It shouldn't matter to them.
so
They should be able to tune it to 432. They should be able to all get in there, do what their profession is.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder why are we stuck at 440 then?
Well, of course, yeah, that's another one of those conspiracies that, you know, you can go off in all different directions, all different tangents.
I guess it's kind of new one to me, so it's stuck in my head right now.
Yeah. No, I mean, this has been a very big learning curve for myself over these last few years. You know, one thing leads to another, to another, to another, and suddenly it's like, wow, okay, this, you know, because I've heard something about that. Oh, the Germans, they tune things to 440, and at first it's like, well, yeah, who cares, you know? But then when you start to understand more about the real importance of sound, like they're talking about numbers, and really sound is just numbers. It's the manifestation
Frequency.
of that particular number. It has its own resonant frequency. So if we just sort of bastardize it a little bit, tune it up so it still sounds good, but it's a little bit discordant. It's just it's off enough that it leaves a person with a little sense of unease. And to me, this is what the whole purpose was. Because if we were listening to music in these sacred tones, you know, because they do relate to the geometry of the everything.
Would it be, well, a consideration? I don't want to even say assumption, but a consideration that there's potential that doing something like this would be like a negative binaural beat being applied, the way binaural beats work, and cause almost like an interference pattern wave, which they have divined a good interference pattern. I imagine that a negative interference pattern could be manufactured with binaural beats as well.
No, that's exactly, yeah, and that's exactly, I think, what's been going on is that, you know, and again, the more I look into, you know, the secret societies, those shadow elements of our world that have really been running things, they know a lot of this stuff. They know that there's certain fundamental, you know, secrets. They've kept them secret from us, because if we know these things, we can break out of their matrix, because we're quite literally through sound, we are kept within a box. If we're all kept a little bit at, you know, out of ease, then it's much more easy to manipulate us. If we're all vibrating on a in tune type of frequency, you know. And again, this chart, as you go down in C, you wind up with 7.8. You know, another very, very significant number. If people, you know, are aware of the Schumann resonance, our Earth hums at this, you know, resonance of 7.8 hertz. And so, yes, I find that number in this chart as well. So you just, you know, the more I look into this, I find correspondences with all sorts of things. You know, and that's what, you know, prompting me to look deeper and deeper into this. Yeah,
One of the
exactly.
things that I always think about is, like you had said, like we've been misled. I very much feel that the cathedrals of old were built for their acoustic properties
Yeah,
exclusively. That
sure.
they are musical instruments. They're resonant cavities, and they're amplifiers, I should say. They're resonant cavities. They're amplifiers. They're not instruments. They're amplifiers.
Yeah.
The instrument is a massive crowd of humans singing the right tunes, tones, words, whatever. But that's what's been secreted away from us,
Hmm.
is
Yeah,
our power to work together
exactly. Yeah.
to accomplish massive, unimaginable things
Hmm.
when we work together.
Yep.
It's just
Yeah.
that simple. And then when you look at the world around us as simply a small amount of people in the know that are uber aware
Yeah.
that when we work together, we're an unstoppable wrecking force.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So the division applied incessantly from every direction about every topic to
Hmm.
make us think that we're not all on the same team.
Yeah.
You know, like Ronald Reagan said back in the day. I mean, granted, it was a propaganda piece. I know, but if it's true. You know,
Yeah.
lest we were attacked by an outside force. You know, what else would it take for us to unify? And there is some truth to that statement. Um,
But
it wouldn't take a very big ship to show up in the atmosphere for all of us to be like, all right, we're all on the same team again, right?
yeah. Yeah.
You know,
Well, I think what we're about to realize, at least this is my hope, that I think we're about to realize that, it isn't so much something out there that's been controlling us. It's been much more feet on the ground here, that there's these elements on this planet that have been manipulating, like this whole tuning of 440 or 432 to 440. That's just one aspect of how they've dumbed us down, how they've manipulated us with certain fundamental principles. How does energy flow into our dimension, and
everybody,
how do we take that energy, qualify it, and then put it back out?
people
It's
really don't understand misinformation and disinformation and evil people. They
mhm,
don't understand the size of our planet. Like you said, as a child, you were understanding the immensity of the cosmos. Many people still can't wrap their heads around the immensity of the planet that we are currently on. Right. So everybody's running around, with these flat earth theories, and is the earth hollow, and is the moon a spaceship? And I get it. I mean, I am open to all possibility exists always, but these are also great stories that can be manufactured as propaganda pieces is also a possibility, because they could be cover stories for simply the fact that there's also a country in the middle of the Pacific Ocean right now that all of our maps show as water, and you're just being lied to, is also possible.
yeah.
And actually more reasonable when you look at it,
Mhm.
right? Because the other one, yes, you have to get into all kinds of space and aliens, and yes, it's still possible, but harder to explain than simply there's land in the middle of the ocean that you were lied to about. The planet's been occupied for millions of years, and you're not in the cool continent.
Yeah, yeah. We're not part of the in crowd.
You're not a part of the in crowd. You're in the farmland.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's what they want to keep us down and dumb
Yeah.
on the farm.
The sheep don't comprehend that the farmer has a house when he leaves the farm.
Yeah, and at a certain point, he's going to want to, say, yeah, it's time to lead you to slaughter. And I think personally we're at that point that they are ready for their harvest.
Mm-hmm.
That, yeah, we've dumbed down enough people that this is going to be an easy ride. And that's why it's important for each of us to step out and say, no, sorry, fuck you.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm not,
basically.
I'm not part of that.
Yep, yep.
And I really do believe that's all it takes. This is a very real war that we're experiencing at this moment in time.
Yep.
And it's not being fought with guns and bombs at this moment, thankfully, but it's
Not the conventional type.
Yep, it's irregular warfare.
Mhm.
And it's not any less real than bombs and guns.
It's actually extremely real. We've just gone beyond that. It's and I don't want folks to think that we are in anything less than active combat.
Yep.
It's just not conventional explosive weapons. It's a new world, folks. Look into directed energy weapons.
Yes. Yeah. No,
It is what it is.
yeah.
I made a note before you had clarified. You keep throwing the word out, Hertzian wavelengths.
Mhm.
Wait till everybody finds out there's non-Hertzian wavelengths. Uh-oh.
Out of phase.
Now what are we going to do? Yeah, I mean, there's other things. Tesla said that there's other things,
Yes.
and we as human beings are using electricity in the Hertzian wavelength.
We're all electric. I mean,
Everything around us is electric. Hertzian is certainly a very usable spectrum.
Yeah.
Use it. It's not the only one.
No.
And other people already know this, and they already have devices that work on a non-Hertzian level.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. We start to understand that something just a little out of phase with our frequency can be right beside us, a completely separate reality we're completely unaware of. But because we're out of phase with that resonance,
yep.
People get little glimpses of ghosts or this or that.
The idea behind Tesla's air resonant transformer coil system to deliver energy wirelessly through the atmosphere.
Yeah.
Effectively, he was taking Hertzian wavelength, transforming it into a non-Hertzian wavelength, and that's how he would propagate the energy from one point to another.
Right. Yeah. No, it's fascinating stuff, and I think we're at that point where, like he said, he realized that it wasn't his time. But now I believe we are at that moment. It will be his time very soon.
I don't know that history can put a man out there that was way more ahead of his time than Nikola Tesla.
Oh.
I would welcome that conversation. If somebody could show me someone that was more ahead of his time than Nikola Tesla was.
Yeah. No, as far as I know, no, they don't exist. I think someone who may run a close second is someone like Walter Russell, who I've started to become more aware of, and it's like, wow, the more I look into his stuff, it's like, why haven't we heard about guys like this in school?
There's a half a dozen folks that we have really had closeted away, that we could, for all practical purposes, take their work exclusively and discuss probably for the next 3 decades and forget about every other conversation that we've had. I forget who I saw recently, but I kind of agree with what they were saying, is that we really need to take almost all of the information that we have right now and literally just throw it out.
Yep.
Straight up, take all of the stuff that we think that we know, get rid of it because it's completely bogus. We've been lied to, and we just need to now move forwards and ask real questions, using proper discernment without ever getting caught up in the stuff that we think that we know from the stuff that we've already learned, because it's such crap.
Yep. No, absolutely. No, and I think the new paradigms are already in place. I'm sure you're familiar with some of the work with like the Thunderbolts project.
Oh, I'm not familiar with that.
Oh no! Oh boy! Wow, you're in for a treat. It's the Electric Universe Thunderbolts project.
I'm a proponent of the Electric Universe concept. I haven't heard the term Thunderbolts applied to it.
Well, the Thunderbolts project is really, there's all sorts of videos that they put out. I mean, these are very accredited electrical engineers and comparative religious investigators that are saying that, wow, here I'm looking at all of these rock carvings around the world, and it's like, why is there this this standing man with his 2 circles, under his arms and his legs spread across? Why do we see this all across the planet? And these guys who are doing high energy plasma research, they're going, hey, just a second here. All of those things that you're talking about, that we see these rock art around the world, we're getting these exact same forms in these high energy plasma experiments. And now you got these minds coming together and saying that, wow, is this part of a understanding of the universe that is completely beyond our typical understanding of it? Do we have to rewrite our books completely about how
Yeah.
our Earth formed, how different events that have taken place, and yeah, it's leading to this whole new paradigm
Mhm.
that suddenly, once you start going down that road, you realize that, well, when I look into space and I see these plasma filaments that join all the stars together, how much different is that to my own neural network?
Mhm.
You
Yep.
know, as above, so below. Suddenly, terms like that take
Yep.
on a whole new meaning.
I remember back in the day, I guess it was when the internet was relatively young. I don't know if you recall, there was something called the Powers of 10 video. Very
Sounds
interesting. It shows like a couple on a blanket in a park, just sitting there having a picnic, basically.
hmm,
And then what the cameraman does is, I think it's something like every couple of seconds, as the camera's backing out and panning away,
okay.
it's something like every few seconds you're backing out by a power of 10.
Oh, okay. Yeah, yeah,
And it continues doing it, and it shows you the scale
right.
changing.
Yeah, yeah. I've
And
seen.
then it eventually brings you back to that scene, but then goes inward
Yes.
by powers of 10. And you start to see that there's a line that gets crossed where what's micro, what's macro,
Yeah.
and I mean, what's it matter?
Yeah. No, and that brings it back to like when I was a little kid and had these ideas about math. I
Mhm.
always thought that there's that 0 point. Now I'll refer to it as that 0 point,
Mhm.
that still center of everything, whether it's an atom, whether it's a galaxy. It
Mhm.
is that still exact same heart, that
Mhm.
still fractal, point
Mhm.
of singularity that exists in every bounded state, whether it's an atom in its bounded state, whether it's me in my little bounded bubble, whether it's this planet, this galaxy, this universe.
Mhm.
And yeah, at a certain point you realize, well, it doesn't matter if I look out in space or inside myself. It is one and the same thing. And that's what I find fascinating. It's no longer just in the realm of the mystics and the yogis who are having these experiences. Now we have some math to actually back up these ideas. Another guy who I found fascinating is Nassim Haramein.
Oh, he's excellent.
Yeah, I mean, fascinating stuff. I mean, that's just like, wow. Here's
Yep.
a guy who's throwing the whole paradigm of our physics on its head. They don't like it too much.
Yeah. No, they don't. I remember, I think it was in second grade, I think we were doing an exercise on division, and the teacher had given us like a ribbon of paper, and we were to draw our fractions and cut it at certain points, and it was supposed to show us, this is 1/2, this is a quarter, you put it together, you have, all together it's a whole. I remember I remember my brain going deep on that when I was a kid, because it was like, well, hold on a second, if the ribbon is whole here, if I can cut it in half, and that makes 2,
Yeah.
and that's in this space. I don't know why my second grade brain was going in this direction so fast, but I was like, but wait a minute. So if I cut this half off, and then I cut this half in half, and this half in half, and this half in half, and half and half and half, and mathematically you can do that forever.
Never, never. Yep.
So it dawned on me that, like, in this defined space, there was also infinity,
Mhm. Yep.
which, now going back to what we said at the earlier end of the conversation, wow, this is really cool, actually. So it wasn't until many, many, many years later that my adult mind came across the Mandelbrot set and fractal math. And I had one of those moments where I flashed back to my youth and went, aha,
Yeah.
you can have a defined perimeter with an undefined volume, which was exactly what I was doing with that ribbon when I was a kid. I had defined perimeter, but I had, in the space in between, was an infinite volume.
Yep. Yep.
And that's what
Yeah.
it took me years later to come across fractal math and Mandelbrot sets and things like that to understand the world's freaking crazy.
Yeah. Well,
When
and
you
that
look at it from physics and math standpoint, when you actually apply physics and math, you will actually learn immediately that what they told you is going on around you cannot be that,
hmm,
because you can't actually measure it that way when you start trying to actually do it.
No, no, that's the beautiful part. Like what Nassim Haramein is doing. He's like saying a fundamental principle of physics is assigning a certain numerical value to uh, this idea of the smallest little particle.
Mhm.
Okay, this is what the universe is made of. This is the number, and everything is all based on that.
Mhm.
And what he's doing is saying, no, your fundamental idea of what that is, what is contained within that 1 cubic centimeter of space, is fundamentally flawed right from the beginning.
You can't know any
So
of it. Right.
yeah,
Right. We think we know stuff and we don't.
no, and that's the thing. It sounds all very lofty and very
Yeah.
eggheadish,
Mhm.
but whenever they come to a problem, it's like, oh, geez, we're missing all of this. Our equations don't quite work. But if we inject this number into it, and then call it dark matter or pixie dust or unicorn farts,
Mhm.
then our equation works again.
Here's a perfect example. And we have the mystery schools of old, right? There's things that we teach in school. There's things that you can know. And then
Mhm.
way back when we had the mystery schools, because there's things that you couldn't know, but you still had to have a conversation about them. And here's something that a lot of people don't know. All across our globe, wherever you look and you find the presence of mankind in any time period, you will
Mhm.
also find, and you have a picture of it that you held up earlier, you will find men in the study of circle squaring
Yeah.
as a practice. And now think about that, going back to fractals and
Mhm.
things. A sphere is something that you can have as a defined volume. You can look right at it. You can ascertain exactly how much space is in it. What you
Yeah.
can't measure is its outside surface. That's why we have the formula of pi.
Yeah. Right.
You can't measure a circle.
No.
You
No.
can look at one all day long. You can get real close to it. But guess what? You're never gonna measure one with any precision.
No. No. Because there's always that.
So now apply that thing in life. There's
Yeah.
always gonna be stuff that
No.
you're gonna be
Yeah.
wrong.
But that's the thing. We've been conditioned to think, oh, everything is in this little box. Everything you need to know is in this box. Don't bother looking outside of it anymore. And
And
many.
the sphere is a good example of that.
Yeah.
Everything we do know is inside the sphere and knowable. What you can't know is the sphere,
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
technically. So
That
there's
boundary.
the aspect of our life is there's all this stuff that we're looking at where we feel so bold because we're like, oh, I know it. I'm in the sphere.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Let's talk about the sphere. Oh, no one wants to talk about the sphere because they can't measure the sphere. And now that's the mystery. It's the unknown,
Yeah.
and it's the
Yeah.
weirdest thing because people don't like discussing the sphere. They like discussing what's inside of it.
Yeah.
What can't,
But
what can't, what they would say can't be argued,
yeah.
right?
Sure.
Until you simply just bring up the sphere.
Just stay in the bubble and don't worry about the boundary layer.
Yeah, yeah. It's a
Uh,
yeah. Aye, aye, aye.
yeah, no, well, that's what this journey is all about. From my perspective,
Mhm.
is that the more you know, the more you realize that you don't know squat, because it's like taking a walk on that boundary layer. It's
Mhm.
like, no, I think I got it. I think I got it, and then suddenly, oh no, there's another dip. There's another doodle in this whole thing, and it's limitless, and
Mhm.
that's what's exciting about it. It's a lot of people, they find it frightening because they're very comfortable in their bubble, and I
Yes.
understand that.
Mhm.
And I've to the dismay of many of my friends and family, I've been going on about this stuff my whole life,
Mhm.
and they were all, for the most part, oh yeah, there goes Kevin again, talking about UFOs, talking about ancient civilizations. That's all good,
Mhm.
but now it's become much more, on a personal level of like, okay, challenge people to question
Mhm.
who's really been behind the scenes, who's really been pulling the strings. Some
Right.
people are receptive to it. Others are like, nope, nope, nope. I want to stay in my bubble.
Yep.
And as long as you don't come at me with absolutely ridiculous rhetoric, I'm always happy to engage in any kind of a meaningful dialogue.
Mhm.
But I've become a little more abrupt in my approach to those that just wanna, oh no, I'm in my bubble and don't you dare. If you want to stay in that, that's fine. I have no problem. Everyone has their own journey, and you know, it's not me to judge that.
Mhm. I'm a big fan of the term reciprocity.
Mm,
So I consider myself a very open-minded person with open-minded people.
yeah,
But if I'm going to be presented by somebody that's closed-minded, I can provide reciprocity with great ease. I mean, it's just, I mean, if that's the games that people want to play, if they want to dig their heels in, I mean, have
yeah.
fun.
No, and that's what's to me that's what this journey is about. And it leads you to a point a lot of times where you realize that holy crap, people who you looked in one certain way, it's like no, you're having to reevaluate that connection to that person.
Yeah,
And
I find with a lot of things that I'm trying to challenge folks in their own experiences to take up the idea or practice of reframing their memories.
hmm,
That like, oh, you get this, right? So now imagine, like, let's say you have a photograph and it's like a memory of your childhood, right? And you see it on the wall. You have that photograph in your memory banks, and you can look back. Oh yeah, I remember that day, right? But in your memory banks, it's a matted and framed photo on your memory bank wall. So you need to take that off of the wall, take that photo out of the matting, out of the framing, and look at it for real.
yes,
That's your true memory. And
exactly.
that's why I think a lot of people, they get heat or friction nowadays, right? Because someone will say like, oh, well, once you said you remembered it this way, and now you say you remembered it that way. So that means that you changed your mind, and now that's a lie, and you are discredited. And that's such baloney, and that's not really right to throw at the feet of people, and it's wrong. And at this point, I'm starting to wonder if that in and of itself isn't a machination of some aspect of society to make people shut up,
Hmm.
to make them feel dis-ease in their own testimony.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm trying to come from the other angle and just let everybody know, like, just speak it, whatever you got, whatever your experience was, it has value.
That's right. Yeah, and be respectful of everyone's point of view, because I look at it the same way as that. We all have our own particular framework
Hmm.
that we've assembled around ourselves, and this is the way we view the world. It's through those distortions. It's through that sort of lens.
Hmm.
Some people. I was just sort of thinking of the nice analogies. It's like we all are viewing the world through our own different lenses.
Hmm.
Some people have a couple of lenses, and they're able to look at amoebas and protozoa, and they're happy with that.
Hmm.
Other people have got other lenses that where you see a little bit deeper and deeper and deeper.
Hmm.
One view isn't superior to another. It's
Hmm.
just that that's where the person is perceiving the world through their own particular lens, their own framework of references.
Hmm.
And as long as people are open to other people's frameworks without saying, nope, that's wrong. Nope, I don't believe that. Well, it's okay if you don't believe it.
Okay.
Look into it, research it,
We've
come to
changed
it.
we've changed a lot as a society in the last 100 years, and it's very easy to see. Okay, 100 years ago, if I was your neighbor, odds are the information in my head and your head would be almost identical.
Mm-hmm.
We'd be so much on the same page, our skill sets, what we're capable of doing. you
Sure.
know we would have our properties. We would both have some semblance of agriculture. We would both have some mechanical skills. We would both have some home repair skills. We would have very shared experiences and intellect and conversations.
Mm-hmm.
In that time, I'm going to suggest that there's been intention applied to make us all more specialists so that we don't have the shared interest, right? I can't, at the end of the day, simply catch you in your garage working on your 350 small block with a garage set of tools and give you a hand because we both have the same level of intellect and skills.
Mm-hmm.
Where we've been, I would say, deviated apart and blatantly turned into specialists. We don't have shared skills anymore. It's not necessarily a good thing. I get we can debate the positive aspects, but there are certainly pros and cons to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I think as a society now of specialists, we've compartmentalized ourselves.
Exactly.
And if we are not speaking in our compartment, we don't feel like an expert in the conversation. So our
Mm-hmm.
egos don't like us leaving our compartment.
Yep.
So we don't engage in other compartments. We don't share our information as we should. We now feel so emboldened by our egos that we want to charge for every syllable that comes out of our mouth.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I'm a specialist.
I'm self-important that I have, I've
Right.
got specialty, and you
In
don't.
my field, I'm a genius. Cool. Now step outside of your bubble and express to me the value of your syllables now.
Yeah, yeah.
Because we've now got so many people that no longer exit their bubble. They don't actually engage other bubbles, and they aren't learning that they're devaluing their own presence and position.
Yeah.
Because by not engaging with other people, you're devaluing yourself. You can't be a ship in a sea all by yourself.
No. It's like, rather than putting the pieces together, we're just this box of puzzle pieces that are just getting shaken around, and every little piece is complete unto itself.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't really appreciate the entire picture until it all gets put together, and that's what's happening.
Because then until it gets all put together, technically, each of these specialists in their cell of specialty, they don't actually feel contented unless a cell from higher up tells them they're doing a good job.
That's right. Yep. You rely on
That's
that.
all they're waiting around for in their cell, is that pat on the back. Like, here you are right there. You good little thing, you.
Yeah.
We'll give you a document that says that you're so intelligent.
Yeah. And unfortunately, that's what academia has become. It's just an old boys club, and everyone's patting each other's back. And rather than approaching it with some humility and put that ego to the side and go, I'm a physicist and you're a biologist. Let's see what happens if we work together. If we combine our knowledge, rather than saying, oh, I'm this, you're that, the two will never meet.
Yeah.
That's what, is going to propel us forward so far. And I believe in this next, number of years, we're going to start to see that, holy mackerel, everything is interrelated. That, and we see it how we're conditioned at school. Mm-hmm. It's like, oh, the bell rings, got to go to your math class. Oh, bell rings, you got to go to your English class. Bing, bell rings. It's the Pavlovian stimulus response.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we're kept in that mind set.
Yes.
Our whole world is compartmentalized.
Oh my God, the sun is up. I have to go figure out how to pay my mortgage.
Yeah.
Because that's what life is meant to be, right?
Yeah.
Of all the freak coincidences that happened in the cosmos, human beings were born to pay mortgages, apparently.
Yeah. This is the pinnacle. Yeah. After supposedly millions of years of evolution,
yes.
This is it, folks. We're at the top now. Accept it.
You and your wife now are supposed to work full-time jobs and overtime to be able to afford the things that you need in life.
Yeah. No. Rather than realizing that the universe is a universe of abundance, that it will surprise everything if we live in accordance with it. If we follow the Taoist way, go with the flow. Don't always buck nature. Don't try to force it into your paradigm.
I very much think that we should live responsibly and in harmony with our environment. I'm not a rapist of the environment, but I will laugh and laugh and laugh at anybody that has foolishly fell for the propaganda that we have limited resources on this planet.
Yeah, no, I don't buy it.
I'm sorry you've been bamboozled, whoever you people are that think we have limited resources on this planet of plenty. I mean, it's off the wall. The resources that we have is immeasurable. The amount of stuff that we have. There's more food. There's everything that we need for everyone is here. It's just simply mismanaged. That's the problem.
Exactly. But
no lack of resources. There's lack of proper management, folks. That's it. You've all been lied to.
Yeah, and that's the thing. We've been so well conditioned to think that, oh my God, there's too many of us, that we're going to run out of water. We're going to run out of food. And so we're ready to bend our knees towards megalomaniacs like Mr. Bill. And it's like, yeah, okay, if only I submit and get this injection, then the world can go back to normal. Everything can go back. It's like, no, sorry, folks. What they're doing is just having us bend our knee deeper and deeper until we just accept anything.
I'm not 100% sure. And as the conversation stated earlier, you and I are both not really big fans of math. And I normally do all math under protest with a calculator, but I'm going to wing it right here. I'm going to crunch some numbers here.
All right.
Bill Gates says he's interested in helping like the poor people of the world that are starving.
Yeah.
I imagine he could cut a check for half his wealth and rectify the problem tomorrow.
You
I
think?
mean, if my
Well,
math is correct.
yeah, yeah. But instead, when we look into it, we realize that all of this philanthropic charity work that he's doing is really a money laundering scheme. That it's like, oh, you give your money to this organization, that gives it to that organization, that gets into that organization. Everyone takes their cut off of it, and then it winds back in his pocket. Oh, nice philanthropy work.
I might have to. I had John Warner the Fourth on recently, and he's pretty well off, and he might be able to speak on this topic a bit. I bet you he has some insights as to how the wealthy like to play the donation card as if they're so magnanimous and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
no, but that's the beauty part. More and more people are waking up to it.
Mhm.
And that to me is really the big tipping point that we're at, is that, the asleep masses are begrudgingly, rubbing their eyes and going, yeah, something's not quite right. And that's, to me, that's the most important thing.
Mhm.
They don't have to go down the rabbit holes that I've gone down.
Mhm.
It's what's important is for people just to go, yeah, something's not right here, and
It is a good start.
yeah, as soon as that light goes on,
Mhm.
and there's room for meaningful growth.
Mhm.
But as long as that light is off, it's like nope, nope, nope. Then yeah, we could go down a very, very dark road.
Mhm.
Personally, I don't think we're going to do that. We're going to be, we're going to be kicked in the nuts a few more times before things really change. But it's essential.
That's the way I look at it too. Is I feel that history has shown us that there's that term they say, good always wins over evil, right? And I agree with that statement. But with that being said, there's long timetables in between the good victories. Yes, good always wins over evil. Yes, in the end. But then there's long periods of time where evil gets away with a lot of crap.
Yeah.
And I think we're in one of those moments. And I do think that it takes a monumental amount of crap to go down before the good people will finally get off their asses
Yeah.
and get the victory they deserve.
No, absolutely. Yeah. And, that's why, this is why I'm doing something like this. It's just like, hey, you got to realize at some point that, what? I am just one little voice here in Edmonton, Alberta.
Mhm.
But hey, if I can help jar someone else's mind to start to question a few things, that's all I care about.
Excellent.
So, I use the analogy of Dr. Seuss's Horton Hears a Who,
Oh, nice.
because we are living that Horton Hears the Who moment.
Mhm.
It's like every voice on this planet matters at this time more than we could ever imagine. And it doesn't take any great, display of how righteous I am. It's like, no, all it takes is for each individual to start going, man, something really stinks with this whole situation.
Mhm.
You
I
know,
agree with
just
that 100%.
yeah, just start questioning, and it can be very, very difficult for a lot of people, because breaking out of that bubble that we've all surrounded ourselves with, for a lot of people, it's going to be hard as they start entertaining the idea that maybe some of these far-fetched conspiracy ideas, maybe there's something to them. So for a lot of people, it's going to be a very hard road ahead. For those that are more open, it's going to be like, wow, I've often thought about that, but now I'm starting to
Mhm.
digest it a little more. Those, it'll be an easier ride.
Mhm. I
But
think it is opening up, and I think it is a more the merrier thing.
yep,
And I also think of the tradesman term, many hands makes light work.
yeah, that's right.
And even like with the energy worker thing, I think of it like LIGHT, light work. Like many hands makes light work.
Yes,
Um,
yeah.
because
No, and that's it. We're all light workers to some degree. Well, some are on that descending spiral, and that's part of this whole thing. I look at it as an energetic equation.
Mhm.
Is that at certain points in this grand cycle of things, there's times when this energy differential, this is separated.
Mhm.
That those that are ready to go up to the next octave will. Those that are still, within that bubble, and it's no diminishing of their role, because that is part of the role. We have to see the evil in order for us to really understand where we are going to stand ourselves.
I can follow that. I mean, you have to see the evil to react to the evil appropriately.
Yeah.
I mean, those are, I guess, natural things. At some point in time, evil things will occur and good people will rise up to stop that. But it requires those good people to come face to face with the evil to then be inspired to do the right thing,
Yeah.
which I see in society as an interesting thing because, like, to me, that means at that point in time, it's appropriate to be angry.
Yeah.
I've always said, like, anger is an appropriate response at the right time.
Yes.
I mean, love is an appropriate response at the right time.
Yeah.
It's also an inappropriate response at the wrong time. So you can love at the wrong time. You can love at the right time. You can be angry at the wrong time. You can also be angry at very appropriate times. It becomes the appropriate reaction to certain things in life. But I am amazed at how much our society seems to try to smash down the idea that at any point in the day, you're supposed to be angry. They always make it out like anger is always the wrong response. If you're angry, you're wrong. You're in the wrong. If you got mad, you're wrong.
Well, unless you're on, a particular side that thinks that, I should always be in a state of moral outrage.
Well, yeah, those exist too. But it seems sad to me that as a society, it's one of those things that I think they've also been working to keep us down. Is that if people are never angry, then you can get away with whatever you want. If you teach them that anger at any time is always wrong, if you can remove that from society, which I've traveled to, and I would almost venture to say I've seen some folks where it seems like you'd be very challenged to get a whole bunch of people upset. Which is weird to me, because it seems like it's working. There's a line from a Rage Against the Machine song, and in one of their lines it says, "Anger is a gift." Simply put, anger is a gift. I mean, where would we be in the world if we didn't have the emotion of anger? If we never became angry and we never became enraged, imagine all the horrible things that could be forced upon us.
No, and that's the thing is that we have to realize that at a certain point you have to be willing to dig your heels in and take a stand and not back down from it. No matter what the initial looks like the cost is. It's important for everyone to stand in their own sovereignty. And if you're so watered down that you think, I shouldn't get upset about this or that, well, you're missing the point. Because there is times when you have to be willing to stand up and say, yeah, I've had enough.
Yep, I like that. Stand in your sovereignty. I'm writing that one down to remember it. I like that. Stand in your sovereignty. Yeah.
It's important, more now than ever.
Yeah, like seriously, like own your experience, folks.
Yeah.
It's like, I am Eric, hear me roar. This is where I came from. This is what I'm about. I'm going to say where I came from and what I did and give my testimony. And that's mine. No one can ever take that from me.
No.
And no one can take Kevin's experience from him. And everybody should just stand up and say, listen, this is the road that I walked. This is how I got here. I am who I am. My experience has value. And I want you to come into my compartment and share with my experience for that 20% that you've never heard of.
No, that's what I like about your platform so much is that, you're, from what I've seen, you stay pretty apolitical. I can get pretty political. I've managed to steer away from that. But yeah, I mean, it's important for everyone to realize that we all have something to share, and as long as we respect each other, that it's all it can be and it should be all good.
I think it's so funny that it's so funny. I really enjoy this conversation, and I'll just put it out. I think it's so funny that people think that I'm apolitical.
Well, I mean,
there's a time and place for everything. This forum is not the place for my politics.
Yeah, no.
I have a savage political belief system. I think that most people will just completely disagree with my position on things, so I keep it inside because I know no one is where I'm at politically.
No, that's what I appreciate is that you're providing a platform, and that's why I think serendipity worked in a particular way. It's like, hey, this is a good opportunity to get things off my chest that You know,
Part of my politics is actually providing the tolerance that everybody else is screaming from the mountaintops to give
yeah,
when they're screaming at my face to tolerate them.
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, I'm glad that you keyed in on that, Kevin, because I am trying to provide a space where people of varying positions can feel comfortable to share their experience, because I'm not you. I don't expect you to be me,
mhm,
but your life experience has great value to me, whether we agree about anything or not.
yeah,
I mean, that's true too, of people that, go out in the world and engage with folks that you disagree with, because guess what? You're going to learn a lot from them too.
yeah,
One of the things that I'm getting frustrated with in society lately, which it kind of really needs to be addressed. I guess the way that I was raised was very old school, and we were taught like logic, rhetoric, and debate and
mhm,
things like that.
yeah,
Um, these are the facts of the matter how I was raised, right? If you showed up for a debate and you can only support one side of the debate, you're doing really poorly in that class and you'll fail.
right,
That's how school works. School's supposed to prepare you for real life.
yeah,
If you can only hold up one half of an argument because you have so many biases, you'd fail that class, which means you're also failing life.
yeah,
So, folks, if you can't actually hold up both sides of a debate, you're just presenting yourself as a knucklehead.
yeah. No, no, I love that, because that,
It is
that,
what it is. That's the state of the world right now. There's a lot of knuckleheads running around because they got a lot of opinions on 50% of the conversation,
yes,
and they
yeah,
can't hold up the other end of the debate. So you're showing your true colors when you get enraged and you don't understand somebody else's side. You may not agree with it,
mhm,
but you better understand it. And if you actually need the other person to have the debate for you, you're just showing your ignorance. A
yeah,
true debater could stand on a microphone by themselves and have the debate with themselves because they understand the
yeah,
topic matter.
yeah.
But if you
No,
can only get up to the microphone and spew one half of the conversation, guess what the world knows of you? You're a
mhm,
knucklehead, and you're
yeah,
letting everyone know it.
yeah. No, I mean, that reminds me of real practical life experience
Mhm.
going through school. I was lucky enough, I guess, in school where, yeah, we would have those debates that we were talking about parliamentary procedure, and you had to be able to present both sides.
Yes.
And I remember, my teachers were always happy because, yeah, it didn't matter. It's like, okay, you have to, uh, debate whether it's good to have recess or not. You
Mhm.
know, things like that.
Mhm.
And you have to be able to present both sides of it. What and if you didn't, well, yeah, it's exactly as you say.
You're out.
Yeah. But yeah, luckily enough, I mean, those life lessons have stayed with me, that I want to know what the other side is saying, because
Mhm.
if I present my view and I don't, understand yours, well, it is a very one-sided thing, and we just stay polar opposites forever and ever and ever, spinning around each other. We're
Yes.
we're, we're locked in this matrix of polarity.
Right.
It's not until we start seeing that, okay, yeah, you're looking at it from a little different view of me. It's like that glass holographic plate that, you got this one picture, you smash it into 1,000 pieces. Every little piece of that holograph contains the whole image from a slightly different perspective.
Mhm.
We are all like that. We're all looking at the same picture, but because of our different perspective, our different framework that we're working from, it appears to be different.
Yes.
And if we get locked in that eternal spinning, that polarity, yeah, we're fucked.
Yeah.
We're doomed.
And if we can't give to the other party the respect that they hold a different perspective of the same reality, I mean, that's
Yeah,
where we need to get at. I
yeah,
think nowadays is people need to learn to respect that there are different perspectives of the same thing.
mhm,
That you can be discussing the same topic from a different perspective. You don't have to come to 100% agreement in your vernacular,
no,
um, but you can do so respectfully, and even come from differing positions that are opposed.
yeah. No, that's where real growth happens.
Mhm,
When that seeming polarity starts to work together,
mhm,
then it's like, wow, there's no limit to what we can do.
mhm.
You know,
I enjoyed this conversation. Don't get me wrong; it's very amicable, and we're already on the same page, and it's fun. But in my brain, I just thought to myself, I really wish that I could also get to the point, say like I have the new website and everything like that, and I'm going to grow and do things, right?
Mm.
But in my mind's eye, I just thought like it would be cool if I could bring together people um, to show like what we were just saying,
Yeah.
people of wildly different perspectives and beliefs, um, but who still maintain the older ways of respectable debate and conversation.
Yeah. No, that's a fantastic idea. I mean, that would be great to have, bring back the idea of open dialogue. Make
Yes.
make it okay for seemingly polar opposites to come together in a respectful way to present their ideas.
Well,
Don't resort to the rhetoric and the slander and everything else, which has become all too familiar.
disagreement seems to be so connected with anger
Yeah,
nowadays. I don't understand how that happens, that you see two people engage in a conversation, and when they get to a point of contention, um, anger
yeah,
shows up, just because they don't agree on something, which blows my mind because why don't they just brood and think about it, you know?
yeah.
There's a few people that I've seen, conversationally, um, I think it was Jordan Peterson I was watching recently, and he's very even keeled person. He gets attacked regularly. He stays very even keeled. He's impressive to me, and he says lots of times to folks, he's just like, "Oh, I'm surprised you see it that way." Will oftentimes be his response, which is very, even keeled.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's more of a normal response when somebody completely disagrees with you, to
Yes.
just calmly say, "Oh, I'm surprised that you see it that way."
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
but but nowadays, if somebody comes from a diametrically opposed position, you won't get such calm reactions from most people. They'll lots of times come out with name calling and pejoratives, and you're like, "Whoa, I
Yeah,
just simply have a differing opinion."
yeah. No, and that's been my experience, especially in these last few years. It's just like, wow, a lot of people you think are open minded to things, and suddenly you come up to that wall, and it's just like, well, no, no. I mean, look what I'm talking about. Research yourself. Then you can come back at me from an informed position. But
Mhm.
that unfortunately hasn't been happening. At least not as much as I would like. I've gotten new alliances with people that I never thought I would, and
Mhm.
other people that I thought would be more open. It's like, wow, how did that happen?
Mhm.
It's discouraging in ways, but it's also very, very, enlightening and very, sort of liberating in other ways.
Mhm.
It's really a separating of charge of polarities at this moment, and
Uh-huh.
uh,
I kind of almost think of us like as a capacitor bank right now.
yeah,
Like we're charging up, and we're building up this energy. And there's going to be this bubble that's eventually going to be this blast, this lightning bolt blast. That
yeah,
will just, change things.
yeah. No, that's the way I view it, and eh, there's a lot of weird things going on in the world, but I want to touch on another aspect of my dreams, maybe just to
Go
sort
for
of
it.
wrap things up,
Go for
because
it.
I've also some of my dreams have always been about what seems to be quite a way in the future, and it's nothing like earth shattering. It's me just sort of wandering around the neighborhood, sometimes with one of my brothers, and just looking at all the different types of trees that are growing. I'm a real plant nut. My whole family, we're all very much plant nuts.
Cool.
And so for me, a lot of my dreams are with having to do with plants. And so I'm walking around the neighborhood and looking at palm trees and rubber type of trees and stuff, and just sort of commenting on, wow, yeah, you remember when we couldn't grow these things here? You know, Weird dreams like that. And I share that with a few of my brothers and sisters.
Uh-huh.
And we have very similar dreams that you know and I was having these dreams well before I read books like Edgar Casey talking about earth changes and
Mhm.
shifting of the axis and stuff. So when I was reading those things, I was like, okay, that's interesting,
Mhm.
because I already was sort of pre-prepped for that whole concept.
Mhm.
So I do have a lot of hope for the future,
Mhm.
that we may go through some real tough times, but those dreams show me that no, the world seems very good. And I'm just commenting on how neat it is that these palm trees grow here now. I mean, they could be so. I remember one dream in particular where people were putting some burlap or something around a palm tree, putting all the leaves together and wrapping it, because we still get some cold temperatures here.
Oh boy.
So not really bad, but bad enough that, okay, still have to
Got to
protect.
wrap the palm trees in the winter.
Yeah.
There you
But,
go.
but I mean, that's my own love of plants and stuff. I have so many dreams where I'm collecting seeds from all these bizarre trees and stuff, and I get so upset because I can't bring those seeds back with me. So part of me recognizes that, yeah, I'm here because I'm often flying around, flying through trees and stuff, and collecting seeds. That's what I like doing.
That's funny. What an interesting dream. It's like, I don't know. I feel like almost like you were some sort of an animal in another life or something. Like I could picture you being like a bee or something, buzzing around the woods, being really happy doing that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what gives me the greatest joy in my life, other than my kids and stuff, is just spending time in my garden.
There you go.
I can stare at a little patch of moss, and my mind can go into that fractal universe, and suddenly I'm far away. It's a lot of people just don't take that time to stop and smell the roses. Yeah, that's very, very important, because the more we connect with that underlying sort of geometry of nature. We haven't even touched on the whole idea of the Fibonacci sequence or the golden mean spiral or anything, but that's
then we'll just leave them wanting more, Kevin. We'll say I'm going to make a note right now that we'll discuss that next time. We'll do the Fibonacci's.
Yeah, no, I think there's a lot more we can go into.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the conversation today, and I love where we went, and I love that we always have more things to talk about. So thank you very much for your time here today, Kevin. I know we went a little bit over the hour, obviously, but we'll
two hours.
Yeah, we'll get close. Time always flies. It always happens that way. But I do look forward. I want you to keep working on that picture. I really want to see how it comes out. I think you have an amazing hand. As a tradesman, I've always felt that I'm more of a repairman than a creator. So my hat always goes off to artists, because to me, they're very creative, and I respect that. So what you're doing is something in society that's a lost art. I mean, literally, people that can pick up pen and paper and do what you're doing, my hat goes off to you. So I look forward to seeing that completed. And I look forward to having you back on the show in the future. If you want to come back and talk, don't ever hesitate to reach out. I know we've been chatting in the emails and stuff, but I'm very glad that you decided to get your voice out there as well today.
Well, thank you. No, it's been a blast for me. There's always that little apprehension and nervousness, because this is the first time I've done anything like this. And
I get it.
But no, I mean, that's what I like about your format. It's laid back. There's it's and it just allows it to organically flow, and that's what the world needs more of. And so yeah, I look forward to. I mean, if you put together a panel of divergent thoughts, man, sign me up.
Oh, excellent. I'll keep you in the loop for considerations on that one, because I'm always trying to have more interactions with folks, and the one-on-ones are great, but I actually do want to engage more roundtable type stuff. So I'll definitely keep you in the loop for that.
Yeah, no, certainly. Yeah, whatever you think might be appropriate, just give me a heads up. And
excellent. Well, I'll keep you in the loop, and let me get my shameless plugs in here for everybody. If you can click the links below, if you're interested in CBD products, I am affiliated with a product line that is really good stuff. So click the links below if you need some CBD stuff. And also, I have fired up the new website. So go to deciphering.tv. The link will also be below in the comments. I have some articles up there that I posted already, and there's an archives section. A lot of people are always looking for facts, like, hey, you got to prove what you say. Okay, go to the archive section on my website. I've pulled PDF documents straight out of the CIA's website. So if you don't want to go to the website for the CIA and you don't want to look on their site, you don't have to. I did the work. You can go to my site. If you want to download it off of my site, you can. If you don't want to, you can just hang out on my site and peruse the archives library with other folks like myself and Kevin, whoever might be looking in there to see what's moving around. Let's talk to each other, folks. Let's realize there are facts. We've all been lied to. And folks like Kevin are coming to help us get our stories figured out. So that's where we're at today. Exactly. We're going to get it all dialed in.
Yeah.
and good people will win in the end. So
Yep. Every piece to the puzzle.
every piece to the puzzle matters.
Yep. A
So
who is a who, no matter how small.
exactly. I'm gonna watch that again. Actually, I'm gonna write
Yep.
that one down too, because my girlfriend actually likes that one a lot. Horton Hears a Who.
Yeah, no, I think Dr. Seuss, there was yeah, I think he knew a few things.
Yeah, a good refresher course.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, Kevin, thank you very much for coming, and thank
Oh,
you
thank you.
everybody to joining us today on Deciphering My Experience. I look forward to chatting with Kevin again and talking to all of you in the future. Have an excellent day, all. Bye.
Thank you.